Welcome back, dear people, to the Tibetan Buddhist Society Peaceful Land of Joy. I hope you've had an enjoyable Easter break. Actually seems such a long time ago. My name is Pam, and I'm a long-term student at Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden, the precious founder and spiritual leader of this centre, our traditional Buddhist temple, and the beautiful gardens. So today let's start as usual with our traditional prayers. We'll start with prayers in Tibetan and English, and I think they come up on the screen as well for people who are here. Let's commence with the general prayers on page 19. Peaceful, calm and focused. Let us begin. On page 19, praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. We'll do this one in English. Teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly pure and complete Buddha, all-knowing, having poise, Sugata, apprehender of the world, navigator of beings to be subdued, incomparable, teacher of gods and humans, to the Buddha, the Bhagavan, the glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, we prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. And then we take refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And we establish our heartfelt bodhicitta motivation for our practice today, a wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So first in Tibetan. Sangye chodong so ki chok nam la jan chu pa du dagni kyab su ji Dagi jin so ki pe so nam ki drola panchi sange drupa shok. To the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I go for refuge until becoming enlightened. Through the merit of my generosity and so on, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all beings. To the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I go for refuge until becoming enlightened. Through the merit of my generosity and so on, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit all beings. And then our short mandala offerings, still on page 19. Jaji Poki Jukshin Me Top Tram Rira Ling Ji Nide Yen Pari Sangye Jing Du Ming Te O Wagi Drokun Nahams Dagshin Chopasho. This ground, anointed with perfume and strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, the four continents, adorned with sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered thus, may all beings enjoy such pure lands. And then turning over the page to our 7 limb prayer, I prostrate my 3 doors with a mind of respect and offer all actually arranged and mentally emanated offerings. I reveal all the downfalls and negativities that I have ever collected and rejoice in the virtues of individuals and superiors. Please remain perfectly abiding until samsara is no longer seen. I request you to turn the vast and profound wheels of Dharma, and I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. And then the prayer of the lineage gurus in English on page 23 of prayer books. Body born from a million magnificent, excellent virtues, speech fulfilling the hopes of infinite beings, a mind that sees all objects of knowledge precisely, I bow my head to the chief among the Shakyas. Supreme sons of the incomparable teacher, carrying the load of all the conqueror's deeds, by their emanations appearing in countless realms, I prostrate to Maitreya and Manchushri. The mother of conquerors is difficult to fathom. The precise thought is in commentaries written by Jamdavicta's ornaments, Nagarjuna and Asanga. I prostrate at the feet of those most renowned in the 3 realms. From these 2 great chariots come the excellent lineages of the paths of profound view and vast deeds, their essential points gathered thoroughly and without fault. Prostrations to the lamp holding this treasury of instruction, giving explanation through compassion by seeing precisely and completely the essential points of all paths of Sutra and Tantra, holder of the conqueror's entire holy Dharma, prostrations to the glorious Losang Drakpa. I, seeing all the infinite teachings, supreme way of crossing for those entering the journey to liberation, moved by compassion to deeds skilled in method, prostrations to the spiritual masters who make everything clear. And then on page 27, in English, Great Treasury of Excellence, the prayer of the path to enlightenment, composed by the unequal second Buddha, Jetsun Tsongkhapa. The kind master is the basis of all qualities, and proper reliance is the root of the path. By seeing this excellence and through much striving, bestow blessings to be devoted with great respect. This gentle support of freedom obtained this one time is most difficult to achieve. Knowing its great value gives rise to a mind seizing its essence constantly, day and night. Bestow blessings to generate this continuum unceasingly. It is like a bubble in water, this constantly moving body and life. Thus remember the swift collapse of death. Beyond death, like body and shadow, white and black karmic results follow after. By gaining firm certainty in this, the mass of faults, subtle and very subtle, are abandoned, and the accomplishment of all virtuous collections completed. Bestow blessings to ever retain conscientiousness. By that pure thought, great conscientiousness is true. I beg your pardon, I'm hopped a verse. The qualities of samsara are unfit to be trusted, the door to all suffering. Do not be content with these enjoyments. By knowing its defects, bestow blessings to develop a great aspiration for the bliss of liberation. By that pure thought, great conscientiousness is drawn forth, and mindfulness and awareness of the individual liberation, the root of the teachings. Bestow blessings to make this the essential practice. Just as I myself have fallen into samsara's ocean, all living beings as mother are also like that. By seeing the responsibility for the liberation of beings, bestow blessings to be trained in supreme bodhicitta. However, by merely generating the mind, if not acquainted with the three aspects of ethics, enlightenment will not be attained. By seeing this excellence, bestow blessings to train with strong effort in the vows of the conqueror's sons. Pacifying distraction towards perverse objects by way of proper analysis of the perfect meaning. Bestow blessings to swiftly and continuously generate the path related to the union of calm abiding and special insight, thus becoming a vessel trained in the common paths, enter the Vajrayana, supreme evolution of all vehicles, bestow blessings to engage the easy path itself, that sacred way of crossing for fortunate beings, the base of the practice for the two aspects of attainment is when guarding the pure vows of commitment is found to be genuine and certain. Bestow blessings to protect them even at risk of life. Then by understanding properly the important points, which are the essence of the two stages of the Tantra classes, bestow blessing to practice according to these holy teachings with continuous effort in supreme fourth session yoga. Like that, may the spiritual friend revealing the gentle path and the friends of proper practice stand firm. Bestow blessings to quickly pacify the masses of outer and inner hindrances. In all rebirths, may I never be parted from the perfect gurus and the enjoyment of the glorious Dharma. By utterly completing all qualities, paths and grounds, may I quickly achieve the state of Vajradhara. Thank you for joining with me in those. Every time I recite them when I'm teaching here, I'm very tempted to head off on an explanation of some of the meanings in the prayers for people who aren't familiar with them. For those of us who recite them regularly and have recited them over many years, for me personally, they certainly pull me into line and remind me what I'm supposed to be doing with my practice, how to establish my concentration and my focus, and generally give me a delight in the good fortune of being a Buddhist. So today, in this teaching, before the break, as I was saying a minute ago, before the break, it's been quite a while, but before the break, we spent the last couple of weeks looking at karma. And karma is so important in our lives. It's a determinant of all our experiences. Positive, negative, and neutral experiences are all generated by our actions of body, speech, and mind. What we experience in this life is due to the karmas we have generated in previous lives. What we experience in our future lives is due to the remaining karma from previous lives and the karma we generate in this life. So when we look at karma, we're not only thinking in lay terms how it's mentioned in the media and so forth. What we're thinking about is how can we best set ourselves up in this life to be able to practice as Buddhists, and also in our next lives, plural, in our next lives, what can we do with our karma now to give us the best opportunity to be born in a way that we are able to practice Buddhism again and make progress on the path to enlightenment. So in acknowledging the importance of our karma, I thought that for the remaining classes that I'm leading this year, we might start each week with a brief, a bit tongue-tied today, here we go. We might start each week with a brief 4 opponent powers meditation. We did a meditation like this in our last class to learn the process of how to do an opponent powers meditation. and because it's such a beautiful meditation to limit the negative impacts of our karma that we are generating, and also to make the most of our positive karmas that we are generating. Of course, it's more effective if we apply these opponent powers immediately after our negative actions, and indeed it is much better if we dedicate our positive karmas immediately after we create them too. That way we minimise the negative impact and also maximise the benefit. But as the saying goes, better late than never. So I thought each week if we do an opponent powers meditation, I thought that would be really nice for all of us, just to focus on the karma that we have been generating and the karma that we wish to generate, and do the best we can to either minimise the damage that we've created and also to maximise the wonderful benefit we get when we create positive karma. Yeah. So in saying that, I just want to clarify something. The process of the 4 opponent powers is to look at negative karma. In my looking at texts this week in preparation for this week's teaching, there's nothing really about that balancing act that I'm talking about of dedicating our positive karma. So please don't think this is in Geshe-la's book. It's just something that I personally find helpful and pleasurable to do, so I'm hoping that you might find it so too. So if you'd like to get yourself ready to meditate in whichever way you do that, using our standard meditation if you wish, our standard setup, posture, sitting in a chair, if possible, both legs flat on the floor. Try not to cross your legs if you're sitting in a chair because it disrupts the flow of chi. And similarly, if you're sitting in the ground, sort of legs crossed. Either way, hands relaxed in your lap. And as you relax your hands, you'll find, I'm holding this up, but they'll be in my lap. You'll find the tips of your thumbs just naturally come together. So if you slide your hands a little bit, you can make it so that and then that beautiful, sometimes it's referred to as a shell shape, that beautiful shell shape just sits nicely in your lap and your thumbs just touching the tips of them. So when you're ready, taking a few moments to check your posture, starting at the crown of your head, flowing down, moving a little bit if you need to. Try not to move too much because it'll interrupt your concentration, but certainly move so that you are comfortable as you sit to meditate. The idea of meditation is to find a calm, open space, not to see how long you can endure pain. So checking down from the crown of your head, through your neck, face particularly. Check what your forehead's doing between your eyebrows. That's often a physical store of stress. So just smooth that out. Down through your shoulders and your arms, your torso, hips, your legs, knees, calves and feet. All nice and comfortable now, ready to meditate. So gently bring your concentration back up again from your feet, gently running your focus through your body, pausing at the center of your chest, your heart. This is where the mind is. And this is where we do our meditation from. And then as we begin our meditation, observing the breath, just breathing in and breathing out. Watching your breath wherever you wish to, maybe at just the entrance of your nostrils where the air goes in and out. Might be the rise and fall of your chest, or the in and out of your tummy. Wherever you feel comfortable settling. Watching your breathing out and breathing in, just observing it quietly. Breathing out and breathing in. Gently calming, settling your body. Now, when you are ready, sliding across your concentration, taking 3 measured breaths, settling your mind. Breathing out all that busyness of the everyday world. Breathing in, tranquil, calm. Breathing out all the mental clutter. Breathing in spaciousness. Breathing out all that internal chatter. Breathing in the peace of silence. So as we begin our 4 opponent powers meditation, first of all, recall a time when your actions of body, speech or mind may have created a negative karma for you. A time when you weren't particularly pleased with what you had done, how you were thinking, or the words that you used. Don't make your example too big or too hard. The idea is to practice the process of opposing negative karma, not to beat yourself up or head off on a guilt trip. As we become more familiar with how to do this process, we'll find it is much easier to apply it in our everyday lives. Then we'll be able to apply the opponent powers at the time we actually generate the negative karma, and thus restrict its impact on our lives. So perhaps you could pick something like telling a minor lie or having an unkind thought, something like that. Okay, now let's use the 4 opponent powers to purify the negative karma from the action that you are thinking of. The 4 opponent powers are the power of the object, the power of regret, the power of the opponent force, and the power of commitment. The first opponent power, the power of the object. When we use the power of the object for our purification, usually our object is the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma and Sangha. For example, when we gossip just to pass the time, we may have created a negative karma by ignoring an aspect of Dharma, idle speech. Going for refuge in the three jewels and generating bodhicitta will help to purify the negative karma of that object. With the power of the object, we can think. As I reflect on the impact of my unwise action, may my commitment to the three jewels be strengthened. For the benefit of all sentient beings, may I achieve enlightenment. In the second power, the power of regret, first we reflect on our non-virtues of action and the negative implications of what we have done. Then we develop a strong regret by recognizing the suffering a negative karma has caused, both for ourselves and usually for other sentient beings as well. This suffering may be in the past, may be now in the present, or it may be in the future. Regret purifies both the negative karma and the tendency to create negative karma. Its strength depends on how clearly and extensively we can see the disadvantages of our actions. With the power of regret, we can think. I reflect that I truly regret having done this unwise thing. It has created negative karma for myself and possibly others. Thirdly, the power of the opponent force is when we do a virtuous positive action as an antidote to the action we are purifying. Our virtuous action can be any action. It doesn't have to be the opposite of what we have done. For example, we don't have to suddenly be nice to someone when we have been mean to them. Indeed, quite often this can be misinterpreted and cause further suffering for the person and yourself. Some common opponent forces we could use are things like prostrations, saying mantras or prayers, walking around the temple with the specific intent of purifying a negative action, those sorts of things. Doing any opponent force with wisdom and bodhicitta motivation makes the purification more powerful. Please notice that quite often others are not aware that we are doing this purification practice, and that purification is not done as a punishment. What we are doing is fixing up, purifying our karmic imprints as best we can. We can think. I commit that the power of the opponent force is that I shall walk around the temple 3 times, for example. And as I do this, I will think about Buddha's teachings on non-virtuous and virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind. And as I go, I shall think more carefully about how I can live an ethical life. And the final power is the power of commitment, the promise not to do it again for a certain period. If it is possible, we can commit to abandon the action we can abandon the action forever. But remember that we need to be realistic with this commitment. It would be very nice if we could abandon negative actions forever, but that may be highly unlikely, certainly for me anyway. The idea is to make a realistic commitment, one that we can complete successfully. The last thing we need to do is create additional negative karma because we have failed in our commitment. So we might decide not to gossip for 4 hours, or not to have a covetous mind for 10 minutes, and that may be all we can manage. With the power of commitment, we can think, in acknowledging that I have created negative karma in my actions of body, speech, or mind, I sincerely make the commitment that I shall not do the action again for an hour, a day, or whatever period of time you've nominated because you know you can complete it. As we finish the first part of the meditation, recall the 4 opponent powers of our purification practice for negative actions. The power of the object, the power of regret, the power of the opponent force, and the power of commitment. Of course, at this stage, our purification efforts may not be perfect. Remember to be kind to yourself. We are all works in progress. Now let's extend our meditation to include the other side of karma, our positive actions of body, speech, and mind. As we begin this part, recall a time recently when your actions of body, speech, or mind have created positive karma for you. Don't make your example too big or too complex. The idea is to practice dedicating the karmic merit we have generated from doing these actions. So it may be something like helping someone onto a train, listening joyfully to someone's chatter, or thinking of a way to be helpful, something like that. As we dedicate positive karma, we might think, I'm pleased that I created positive karma through my actions of body, speech, or mind when whatever it is you're thinking about. I sincerely dedicate the merit of this positive karma to focus on something you want to dedicate, something like the welfare of all sentient beings, people suffering the effects of war, my progress on the path. So I sincerely dedicate the merit of this positive karma to. for the benefit of all sentient beings. So now we have done our best to counteract the effects of our negative behaviours on our karma. We have applied the 4 opponent powers of purification as well as we can. And we have also acknowledged and dedicated the positive karma generated from our positive actions. So now we have finished. It is as it is. I like the way Buddhism says, so be it. Then when you're ready, gently finish the meditation and open your eyes. So let's move on now to study. Oh, and by the way, because I find it's really interesting, that meditation probably took us 20-25 minutes. I don't know how long it felt. I suppose it depends partly on how much your knees were aching. I'm not sure. But it's quite amazing when we're able, to experience that beautiful, peaceful spaciousness of meditation, just how quickly time passes. It's available there all the time. It doesn't mean that we can find it every time we meditate, but when we do, it's really beautiful indeed. So let's move on now and to study some more of Dharma's wisdom. If you have Geshe-la's text, could you open it up at the second page of the contents, please? There's no problem. It's that page starts at the top with number 6, how to meditate. No problem, of course, if you don't have the text, because I'll explain all this as I go along anyway. So last term, we completed part 3, the path of the small scope, that is Buddha's teachings on death and impermanence, lower rebirth, taking refuge in the 3 jewels, and lastly, chapter 11 about karma. Normally we would move on to part 4 and start the teachings in the path of the medium scope, which you'll find in your contents. But I would like to pause first, please, if I may, to make a couple of comments about our Buddhist journeys, where we were up to on the path and what we are trying to achieve. In Samsara, Nirvana and Buddha Nature, the 3rd volume of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's Wisdom and Compassion series, His Holiness suggests an alternative way of considering Dharma. He says that although Buddha taught taking refuge in the 3 jewels before karma, he, the Dalai Lama, chooses to teach karma first and then refuge. His Holiness believes that the teachings on karma create the need, the urgency for a way out of this karmic mess that we all keep generating for ourselves. When we consider the karma we generate, we realise that each day we complete limitless negative and positive actions of body, speech and mind. There are the 3 non-virtuous action of body: killing, stealing and unkind sexual behaviour, and the 4 non-virtuous actions of speech: lying, divisive speech, harsh speech and idle talk, and the 3 non-virtuous actions of mind: covetousness, malice and wrong view. So that's the groupings we use, the 10 of them, that basically cover everything that we do. I'm a bit hazy on this, so please excuse my rendition of this story if I don't quite get it right. But there is a Buddhist story, something about a monk who had a pile of black and white stones. Each day, every time he did a negative action of body, speech or mind, he moved a black stone into his bag. And similarly, each time he did a positive action, he moved a white stone into the bag. At the end of each day, he reviewed the number of stones of each colour in his bag. Now, there's no prizes for guessing what happened. Just like us, the monk had far more black stones than white ones in his bag, indicating that he had completed far more negative actions than positive ones. So it is only when we acknowledge the alarming karmic implications of our day-to-day actions that we can aspire to do something about them. It is only then that we become motivated to study and practice. Also, it is only when we realise how hard it is to be able to actually do anything about our interminable messes that we realise we need help to guide us through. This may sound very negative, the fact that we are all doomed to suffer forever in ongoing repetitive samsaras. People often make these sorts of comments about Buddhist perspectives, but I feel quite the opposite. We certainly are in a tough place, sure, and a tough place of our own making, but despite all that, here we still are. We have a fortunate rebirth indeed, as humans who live in remarkably good conditions. Even in this frighteningly degenerate age, we still have access to Buddha's incredible teachings, and there are still the marvellous teachers and texts to assist us. It is no coincidence that Buddha's teachings are alive and well, still here, still here, available to us after 2,500 years. So when we acknowledge the scariness of our karmas, all those karmas carried forward from previous lives, and those we keep on generating in this life, as His Holiness says, it is then that we develop the urgency to find assistance. We are motivated to take refuge through our study of karma, and then we realise our need for a teacher. And so when I think about what His Holiness is saying in the order in which to teach Dharma, I think he makes a beautiful, helpful point that when we realise the urgency of our situation, then we think, what am I going to do about this? Who is going to help me through this? So let's rekindle our desire for a teacher and practice briefly by revisiting Taking Refuge in the Three Jewels, which is chapter 10 in Geshe-la's text, right? Which is before the Karma text. Our refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel and the Sangha jewel, teaches us how to avoid every pitfall in our current life. We learn how to maximise the benefits of this life and thus how to maximise our opportunities in our future lives. The Holy Buddha jewel is the ultimate object of our refuge. The Holy Buddha body simultaneously helps every being in every universe. Her holy speech simultaneously answers all the questions of every living being. And her holy mind knows everything of our past, present and future, and all our karmic details. The Holy Dharma jewel is our actual refuge and shows us how to end our suffering. And the Sangha jewel supports us on our enlightenment journey. There's a lot more marvellous information and instruction in Geshe-la's precious text, the qualities and powers of a Buddha's mind, body and speech, how we actually take refuge, and so on. However, for the purposes of acknowledging our need for refuge, I think I've said enough. But please read more if you wish from page 277 onwards. So as we continue our Buddhist journey, we now have some insight into the causes of our suffering in this life, our desperate need for refuge, and the marvellous objects of refuge available to us. We know about the small scope and how to escape the suffering of the three lower realms so that we can be reborn in a higher realm. However, we cannot help but ask the question, is it enough? Sure, by practicing the small scope, we may be able to make our next life okay. The question is, will it be just a short vacation from our suffering in the lower realms? And what will happen in our lives after that? As we continue to be bound by karma and delusion, will we just fall back into the cyclic existence of our samsaric suffering again and again? The only way to actually escape cyclic existence is by developing our practice of the path of the medium scope. Medium scope practice is the only option to obtain liberation, that state beyond both the higher and lower realms of existence. So let's learn a bit more about cyclic existence to understand just what an undesirable situation we are in and just how essential, vital liberation is. As we do this, may I first comment that Geshe's explanation of cyclic existence is about 100 pages. Obviously, this is not a brief topic, nor is it easily understood. But when we go through it step by step, we are able to gain some understanding. How fortunate are we that we are able to learn Buddha's word through Geshe-la's texts and teachings. So, excuse me. So here we go. Cyclic existence is not an external entity. Cyclic existence is the experience of ordinary beings. Every being, ourselves included, has 5 aggregates. The aggregates of form, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness. These 5 aggregates are the basis of the label being. More specifically, in our cases, our label of person is always based on the 5 aggregates of form, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness. We'll learn more about these aggregates in later weeks, but the point I wish to make here is that cyclic existence is the 5 aggregates of a being, or for ordinary beings such as me, such cyclic existence is the 5 contaminated as aggregates. So in our cases, each of our cyclic existences is our own contaminated aggregates. So, the material world is not cyclic existence. It is the place of cyclic existence. All those places of offices, shops, homes, parks, etc. are not cyclic existence. They are merely the environments inhabited by the beings of cyclic existence. This, of course, is most unfortunate, because if such material things such as cars, televisions, fast food outlets and so on were cyclic existence, then it would be easy to escape from cyclic existence. We could eliminate suffering just by eliminating our material world. But as you know from your own experiences, sadly, this is not the case. So the material world is not cyclic existence. Also, a person is not cyclic existence. A person is in cyclic existence. We are all in cyclic existence because we possess the 5 contaminated aggregates. And even more unfortunately, these contaminated aggregates are bound by our own delusions and karma. So with no choice, our karma pushes each of us uncontrollably from rebirth to rebirth, realm to realm. Without choice, our delusions continue to arise, creating more contaminated karma, and thus perpetuating our suffering rebirths after suffering rebirth. This is what cyclic existence is all about. You can see why it is called cyclic and never-ending. However, even though this cyclic existence is obvious, it is very complex, as I'm sure you're thinking. So let me say it all again so that you get a second chance to pick up the gist of it. Cyclic existence is not an external entity. Cyclic existence is the experience of ordinary beings. Every being, ourselves included, has 5 aggregates. The aggregates of form, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness. These 5 aggregates are the basis of the label of being, and particularly for us, the label of person. And this label is always based on the 5 aggregates of form, feeling, discrimination, etc. So in each of our cases, each of our cyclic existence is our own contaminated as aggregates. So the material world is not cyclic existence. It is the place of cyclic existence. All the material world are merely the environments inhabited by the beings of cyclic existence. Also, a person is not cyclic existence. A person is in cyclic existence. We are all in the cyclic existence because we possess the 5 contaminated aggregates. And even more unfortunately, these contaminated aggregates are bound by our own delusions and karma. So with no choice, our karma pushes us uncontrollably from rebirth to rebirth. Without choice, our delusions continue to arise, creating more contaminated karma and thus perpetuating our suffering rebirth after suffering rebirth. So, when we look at it that way, what a mess we keep on creating. Of course, we do wonderful things in our lives as well with our generosity and so on, our care for others and care for ourselves. But unfortunately, we also carry along these contaminated aggregates with us in this life, previous lives, and into our future lives. So we definitely need to hear something positive about this, and this is what is positive about it. The point of all this negativity is that we are so very fortunate because we know about our situation. Sadly, nearly all sentient beings wander around in ignorance, life after life, creating pile after pile of negative karma. But we have heard about the mechanics of karma. We can see how self-defeating negative karma is. And especially, as His Holiness was saying, we are motivated to do something about it. So how fortunate are we that despite being sucked in occasionally, we do overall renounce this ongoing suffering. In fact, we are totally sick of it. We are definitely motivated to attain liberation from this self-destructive cyclic existence that we perpetually create. And amazingly for us, in this life now, we actually have the opportunity to do something about it. We aren't rabbits, insects or fish and so forth with no understanding or options. We aren't beings ignorantly living in other realms who also don't have any options. As humans, we actually have some level of insight and motivation. So, let's start influencing, I like that word, let's start influencing this life and a future life. By influencing this life, we can influence our future lives towards liberation. To be able to do this, we need to learn more about Buddha's amazing medium scope teachings, the aspiration for liberation, the teachings on suffering, the teachings on delusions, the teaching on death and rebirth, and the teachings on how to successfully walk the path to liberation. And as you can hear from the topics of the medium scope teachings, they're exactly the teachings that we need to get out of this cyclic existence that we are currently creating for ourselves. So when we think about liberation, liberation from suffering, cyclic existence is not an external entity. Cyclic existence is the experience of ordinary beings. On page 385, Geshe tells us that liberation is freedom. Oh, I love that word. It is the freedom from the bondage of karma and delusion that has bound us forever to the cyclic existence of ongoing rebirths in the three realms. And similarly, liberation is not a place, it is a state of existence. It is the state of existence where we are free from karma and delusion. And because we are free from bondage, from the bondage of karma and delusion, liberation is a state completely and permanently beyond, that is free of suffering. So how wonderful it is for us to be able to study liberation so we can use this life to move forward towards a state completely and permanently beyond suffering. Use this life to start to create our liberation, because liberation is the permanent cessation. That's a very hard word. Liberation is the permanent cessation of suffering. And liberation is achieved when karma and delusion are completely eliminated. This is when the cessation of suffering is permanent. This is when our five aggregates can never again be bound by karma and delusion. When this happens, it doesn't matter. When we achieve liberation, it doesn't matter where we are, strolling restfully in a secluded garden of a peaceful nunnery, or fighting our way through the crowded football stadium, we are always free of suffering. This is such a breathtaking journey, isn't it? We are actually learning how we can permanently remove all the pain and suffering in our lives. And we are also learning how we can help others to do that too. Such an important part of the Tibetan Buddhist belief system and philosophy. We may have quite a way to go yet, sure, but we are on the way. So, over the next weeks, We'll continue exploring the path of the medium scope, and especially the disadvantages of not being liberated, where we get stuck in the ongoing suffering of cyclic existence. We'll consider the ultimate wisdom of the Four Noble Truths, and will investigate how we perpetuate our cyclic existence through the 12 dependent links. These teachings are so helpful for our Buddhist practice and indeed our lives. They show us the way to achieve liberation and how we can assist all sentient beings to do the same, something to really look forward to. But unfortunately, dear people, we'll have to wait until next week for the next exciting episode. However, if you wish to read ahead, perhaps somewhere around page 389 or thereabouts would be a good place to start. So, as we prepare to meditate to finish the class, let's reflect on this week's calligraphy from Thich Nhat Hanh. If you could pop it up for me, please, Manakan. This week we have chosen, I think you can see now. This week I have chosen from Thich Nhat Hanh's beautiful calligraphies. It says, "Be free where you are." So, gently closing your eyes and preparing to meditate, settling yourself with 3 calming breaths. With the out breath, get rid of all that rubbish that's racing around and round in your head. You don't need it now. Probably don't ever need it. And with the in-breath, breathing in calm and peace. Thich Nhat Hanh says, "Be free where you are." From a Buddhist perspective, how deceptively simple this statement is. And yet these words of Tay encapsulate Lord Buddha's entire teachings. Liberation is freedom. It is the freedom from the bondage of karma and delusion. Liberation is not a place. It is a state of existence. Liberation is the permanent cessation of suffering. In liberation, our 5 aggregates will never again be bound by karma and delusion. It doesn't matter where we are. In liberation, we will always be free of suffering. As Thich Nhat Hanh says, "Be free where you are. Be free wherever you are." Sit quietly and enjoy Thich Nhat Hanh's magnificent gift for a moment. Then we'll continue the final meditation. Be free where you are. Be free wherever you are. Continuing our meditation, I want to tell you what I think is quite an amusing story. I'm planning to go on holidays next month for a week in Singapore. I have been reading my Singapore Lonely Planet book to get some ideas about where I want to go, what I want to see, and so forth. But blow me down, the Lonely Planet guidebook includes a meditation on mindfulness. Can you imagine such a hoot? To think that Buddha's marvellous teachings have even permeated the realms of commercial holiday literature. So, let's use the Lonely Planet for our dedication today. Keeping yourself settled, ready for our dedication meditation. This is the Lonely Planet's 4-part breathing meditation. As you do it, just remember to keep yourself comfortable and regulate your breathing however you need to do it. Here we go. The Lonely Planet says, the breath is very helpful in helping us to think about what we're taking in and what we're letting go of. So by practicing mindful breathing, we can use the 4 parts of the breath to bring us into the present. The Lonely Planet goes on. First, we inhale and bring everything in. Then, at the top of the breath, with full lungs, we consciously accept all that is there. Now, as we exhale, let it all go until your lungs are completely empty of air. And before your next inhale, just take a second to enjoy that everything is okay, that you're still you, regardless of what is happening or where you are. So to repeat, first inhale and bring everything in. Then at the top of the breath with full lungs, consciously accept that it is there. Now exhale and let it all go until your lungs are completely empty of air. And lastly, before your next inhale, take a second to enjoy that everything is okay. You're still you, regardless of what is happening or where you are. So using the Lonely Planet's meditation and repeating at your own pace, inhale and bring everything in, accept that it's there, exhale and let it go. And before the next breath, enjoy that everything is okay. Now let's bring our Buddhist perspective in as we continue this breathing process. At each in-breath, with appreciation, become aware of all that you receive from the universe, all that you receive from family and friends, from neighbours, from workplaces, from our country, from the environment, and especially from your Buddhist heritage. Then at the top of the breath, consciously accept all that has been given to us. And now from a Buddhist perspective with your out-breath, from your heart, send out your own wishes for well-being. Well-being for family and friends, for neighbours, your work colleagues, for our country, for all the sentient beings in our world, for all the troubled countries in this world, and for the environment. And from a Buddhist perspective, and before you next inhale, just take a second to enjoy that everything is okay, regardless of all that is happening. Be free wherever you are. In-breath, aware and appreciate all you receive. Top of the breath, accept all that has been given. Out breath, send out gifts of well-being to all sentient beings. And before the next breath, enjoy that everything is okay, wherever you are. And then if you keep going with the rhythm of this breathing meditation, I'll dedicate today's session. Today in our meditation practice, we have practiced how to purify negative karma through the Four Opponent Powers meditation. And by making realistic commitments to not repeat those actions again for a period of time. Then we extended our meditation to include the other side of karma, our positive actions of body, speech and mind. As we celebrated these actions, we dedicated the positive karma that we generated from them. Then, having taken refuge in the three jewels, we moved on to part 4, the teachings of the path of the medium scope. These are the teachings of liberation, the only permanent escape from that terrifying cyclic existence that we perpetually create. It is only in liberation that our 5 aggregates can never again be bound by karma and delusion, and we are permanently free of suffering. As Thich Nhat Hanh says, be free wherever you are. Then when you're ready, gently finish the meditation and open your eyes. So let's turn to our usual dedication prayers, the final prayer of the graduated path on page 31 of our prayer book in English. Final prayer of the graduated path, composed by the unequal second Buddha, Jetsun Tsongkhapa. And if you remember, we had the marvellous opportunity to recite one of his prayers earlier today too. By the two collections, vast as space, amassed with effort for a long time, may I become a chief of conquerors, a guide for all beings whose mind's eye is blinded by ignorance. Also, in all lives, while not yet come to that, may Manchushri favour me with his compassion, finding the supreme path complete with all the stages of the teachings. May I please the conquerors by practising well. By my precise understanding of the essential points of the path, with skillful means drawn along by strong compassion, and by dispelling the mental darkness of beings, may I uphold the conqueror's teaching for a long time. Where the supreme precious teaching has not spread, also where it has spread but become degenerate, with the mind deeply moved by great compassion, may I make clear this treasure of benefit and bliss. The stages of the path excellently established by the marvellous deeds of the conquerors and their children give glory to the minds of those aspiring for liberation. May the conqueror's deeds be long preserved. May all humans and non-humans who remove the obstructions and establish conditions favourable to cultivating the excellent path never be parted for all of their lifetimes from the purest of paths which the Buddhas have praised. When someone makes effort to practice properly the 10 points of conduct of the Supreme Vehicle, may they always be assisted by the mighty protectors, and may oceans of good fortune spread out, reaching all. And then the general dedication on page 34 in Tibetan and English. Thanks, Martin. Gewadi he brokum sohonam yeshe saksakshim sohonam yeshe le junwe daham pa kuni tapasho. By this virtue may all beings complete the collections of wisdom and merit and attain the two holy bodies arisen from wisdom and merit. Jangchu Sen Chagrim Pose Mahake Panyam Ke Gushi Ke Panyam Pa Me Paye Gong Ne Gong Du Pasho. May the precious superior mind of enlightenment be generated in those who have not yet generated, and not decrease in those who have developed it, but increase continuously. Okay, our next class will be 4 p.m. on Sunday, the 8th of May. Yeah? No, we don't like that. I knew that was wrong. Well, I'll put that back in. That's Mother's Day, so... No, I knew that. That's why I hesitated. Thanks, Venerable Anna. Yeah, so our next class will be in a fortnight's time, 4 p.m. on Sunday, the 15th of May. So, and please enjoy Mother's Day, however you may celebrate it. And then our next class will continue our study and practice of the path of the medium scope. So, discussions, questions, comments? How are we going, Bunny? All good? All good. Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you in a fortnight. If that's the way it plays out, please enjoy next weekend's celebrations. And those who are here, please join us for a cup of tea or coffee and some supper. Thank you. Thanks, Moni. Very appreciated.